Robert Baldwin here, and this is your complete guide to modes, scales, and keys. I think the best approach here is not for me to explain them to you. There's hundreds of videos that already do that, and frankly, I don't think it's that useful. So instead, I'm going to experience them with you. So after you watch this video and sing these songs, you'll leave a more skillful and knowledgeable musician. For me, and hopefully for you too, the value in this video is not what I know, it's what you learn. So let's get into it. First of all, let's lose the term modes. Modes has some baggage with referring to religious music, even though that's not pertinent to your musical understanding. Also, when we're talking about modes, we're usually talking about soundscapes other than major and minor. Like there's major and minor, and then there's modes. That might be the way your theory book describes it, but it's not the way you learn it. There's not really a good reason to separate out sounds like Dorian, Mixolydian, or Locrian. All of these terms, including major and minor, describe the same concept, which is what are you hearing and how are the pitch relationships organized. So instead of the term modes, I recommend using tonality instead. Major tonality, Dorian tonality, and so forth. We'll go through all the most common tonalities in this video. The word tonality is better because it clearly represents what we're thinking in terms of a soundscape, a collection of tones. And every tonality has characteristic harmonies that define the way it sounds. Some tonalities also have a characteristic tone that can suggest that tonality even with very little context. In this video, we'll go through the 7 most widely known tonalities, and I'll give you the characteristic harmonies and tones. First at the aural level, and then with verbal association, using movable resting tone solfege. And if you're not familiar with those terms, please watch this video after you finish this one, because I discuss all of those terms in that video. But you don't need to know the terms to understand the sounds that we're covering in this video. So let's go through all the tonalities, and then at the end of the video, I'll teach you about the related concepts of keys and scales. Keep in mind, I'm trained as a pianist, not a singer. And I'm not doing any sophisticated technical audio setup here, just singing in my microphone. I hope this will be helpful for you. I'm definitely not using any auto-tune or anything like that. The idea is that anyone can sing. You don't have to judge yourself, and you don't have to apologize for your voice. But when it comes down to it, you'll learn more about these sounds from singing these songs than you ever will from reading about half steps and whole steps in a theory book. It's such a shame that instrumental music lessons usually don't include singing in a serious way, because singing is your way into learning music. So I really hope this video will find its way to everyone who's interested in learning an instrument or who felt like they didn't get much out of their lessons. Singing is usually the missing ingredient. I hear so many teachers say, you need to learn theory to understand these sounds. You don't. You need to sing them. Singing is an organic and effective way to learn. Theory is great for describing sounds after you know them, but it doesn't help you learn them. Singing does that. So this is really kind of an anti-theory video, since we're actually going to experience the sounds rather than talk about them. And if you want a serious way to apply these skills, my Genesis course is perfect for you, and I'll link it in the description. Today's a great day to buy because the price is going up soon as I'm making additions to the course. If you buy it at today's price, you'll get the updates when they drop at no additional charge. We'll start with major. And this is a song I wrote called Midsummer. I wrote it in 2019 after I saw that movie, but don't be afraid. This song is way less disturbing than the movie. In major tonality, the resting tone is Do, and the characteristic harmonies are tonic, subdominant, and dominant. They sound like this. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. And these chord functions can also be labeled with Roman numerals. And here's those functions again with tonal syllables. Do, mi, so. Do, fa, la. So, fa, re, ti. Do, mi, do. Now, I know I'm not giving you these characteristic harmonies in notation. And I'm not even showing you how to find them on your piano or keyboard either, because the point of this video is learning the sounds. And remember, you get that from singing. And Midsummer goes like this. Bum ba ba da 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 dum da 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 dum ba 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 da ba bum ba da da dum ba da ba bum ba da dum ba da da dum ba da dum dum dum. That's major tonality. Let's move on to Dorian with a song called Far From Home. I also wrote this one in 2019 after I saw that Spider-Man movie. Dorian uses a resting tone of Re, and the characteristic harmonies in Dorian are a tonic chord, a subdominant chord, a subtonic, and the tonic again. That's bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum. And with tonal syllables, that's Re fa la, Re so ti, Do mi so, Re fa re. And the characteristic tone is this T, as in la ti re, is a characteristic kind of Dorian thing. Far From Home goes like this. Bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum da 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 da. Dum 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 da dum 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 bum 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 ba dum bum dum da dum dum da dum bum 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 bum. Next, let's do Phrygian Tonality with a song about the man, the myth, the legend, Broccoli Rob. Phrygian has a resting tone of Mi. The characteristic harmonies in Phrygian are tonic, supertonic, and subtonic. It's bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, with tonal syllables. Mi so ti, fa la do, and re fa la. And the characteristic tones are mi fa mi. That real close crunchy relationship between tonic and the supertonic. Broccoli Rob goes like this. Dooby dooby doop, dibby dibby doop, dibby 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 deep, dibby dibby dip, dibby dibby dip, dibby 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 dip, dibby 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 dip dip da, dibby 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 dip dip da, dibby dibby dip, dibby dibby dip, dibby 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 dip. And that's Phrygian. Moving on to Lydian, and we'll use my song called Organ Monkey. The resting tone for Lydian is Fa, and the characteristic harmonies are the tonic, supertonic, dominant, and there's tonic again, with neutral syllables at the oral level of learning. That's bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum. And with tonal syllables, that's fa la do, so ti re, mi so do, fa la fa. And the characteristic sound is this do ti fa, sometimes called a Lydian chord. Well, I've heard one person do that, Rick Beato. Anyway, Organ Monkey goes like this. Ba-da-da-da-dum da-dum da-ba-da-ba-dum da, ba-da-da-da-dum da-dum da-ba-dum-bum-bum, ba-da-da-da-dum da-dum ba-da-da-da-dum dum, ba-da-da-da-dum da-dum da-ba-da-ba-dum-dum. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-bum-bum, bum-ba-bum, ready, sing. Ba-da-da-dum da-dum ba-da-ba-dum da-dum ba-da-ba-dum da-dum da-ba-dum bum-bum, ba-da-ba-dum da-dum ba-da-ba-dum da-dum ba-da-ba-dum da-dum da-ba-da-ba-dum dum. And for Mixolydian, we're going to use a tune of mine called Starbucks, because I wrote it outside the Starbucks by the new dorm at Temple University where I was studying at the time. The resting tone for Mixolydian tonality is so. The characteristic harmonies are a tonic chord, subdominant, subtonic, and tonic again. That's bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum. And with tonal syllables, that's so ti re, so do mi, fa la do, so ti so. And the characteristic tone is this so fa so between the tonic and the subtonic chord. Like the Kinks, you really got me. But Starbucks goes like this. Ba-da-da-dum, 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 dum 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 da-dum, da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, dum bum bum ba-dum, da-da-da-dum, dum bum bum ba-dum, da-da-da-dum, dum 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 da-dum, da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, dum 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 da-dum. For Aeolian tonality, I have a song called Footsteps in the Woods. And the resting tone for Aeolian tonality is La. Characteristic harmonies are bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, 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 bum. That's La, Do, Mi, La, Re, Fa, So, Ti, Re, La, Do, La. And that sound from a minor chord, La, So, La, is characteristic of Aeolian tonality. So this is my song, Footsteps in the Woods. When I walk alone in the dreary woods of the cold Massachusetts winter, and I search my thoughts for the love that's gone, but the memory fades away. Still each step keeps leading me to the next, till new memories are formed. So when you search, you can find me by my footsteps in the woods. When I walk alone in the dreary woods of the cold Massachusetts winter, and I search my thoughts for the love that's gone, but the memory fades away. Still each step keeps leading me to the next, till new memories are formed. So when you search, you can find me by my footsteps in the woods. Harmonic minor also uses a resting tone of La. And the characteristic harmonies for harmonic minor are tonic, subdominant, dominant, and tonic. So the characteristic harmonies are these: bum, 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 bum. That's La, Do, Mi, La, Re, Fa, Mi, Re, Ti, Si, La, Do, La. So whereas Aeolian has this sound of La, So, La, harmonic minor uses La, Si, La, La, So, La, La, Si, La. That's the difference between harmonic minor and Aeolian. And remember, if you want to explore major and minor on the piano, you can do that in my Genesis course. I hope you're so excited by these concepts that you'll go take that course right away. And I remember when I wrote this song, Mysterio, I was in class at Temple, and it came to me. So I jumped up and left the classroom and ran outside and recorded this voice memo. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-ba-bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-dum-ba-ba-dum. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-dum-ba-bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-dum-bum-bum. And for Locrian, this is my song called Game Day. The resting tone for Locrian is T, and the characteristic harmonies in Locrian are tonic, mediant, subtonic. That's bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, bum bum bum, And with tonal syllables, that's T, Re, Fa, La, La, Do, Mi, T, Re, Ti. And interestingly enough, you want to avoid the pitch So in Locrian, because then it sounds like a dominant chord that might take you to major or minor. But Locrian ain't that. The thing I like about Locrian is there's a symmetrical aspect to Ti, Do, Ti, and Fa, Mi, Fa. And I use that in this song, Game Day, that goes like this. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum. And if you don't know anything about whole and half steps, you can learn about those in the theory lesson in my Music Essentials course, which I will link in the description. Of course, the more songs you sing in any tonality, the better you'll know that tonality, especially when you're audiating tonal context and tonal content. The tonality is the context and your tonal pattern vocabulary is the content. That's what it's all about. Make comparisons. How does one tonality sound like another? How do they sound different? It's the connections you make with the music that allow you to grow, not having the theory explained to you. We don't learn music from being told that we're wrong about something. We don't even learn it from being told how to do it. We learn music from doing it. We learn pitch relationships from singing, and we learn rhythm from moving. Which makes it really hard to sell music courses on the internet, because I'm not selling me, I'm selling you, a way to fulfill your potential. And how much do you think that's worth? 10 bucks? 10,000? I think it's invaluable. Anyway, before we wrap up this video, it'll be useful for you if we take a brief look at a couple of related concepts, keyality and scales. First, let's talk about keyality, because I hear a lot of confusion out there about what it means to be in a particular key. Well, a key doesn't describe anything about a musical sound. Instead, it just locates your music to a particular set of pitches, which is pretty important if you're ever playing music in an ensemble. In order to perform a piece of music, you need to know these two things. What's the tonality and what pitch or key is the resting tone attached to. For example, earlier in this video, you heard the song Midsummer. And like we talked about, it's in major tonality. The resting tone is Do. When I played it earlier, Do was attached to the pitch C. That means it was in C keyality. You could call it C major because that indicates those two things you need to know, the keyality and the tonality. But you might not want to sing it in C. Maybe it's lower than you like it. So you could take it a little higher and attach Do to D, then it would sound like this. Bum ba ba da 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 dum da 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 dum bum ba ba da da dum da 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 dum ba 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 da da dum ba da 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 dum ba da da dum ba da da dum bum. So that's Midsummer in D major, major tonality, D keyality. And you can do that with any of these songs. Just one more example would be Broccoli Rob. It's in Phrygian tonality, so the resting tone is Mi, and earlier in the video I sang it in D Phrygian. Mi was attached to the pitch D, that's Phrygian tonality, D keyality. But maybe you want to sing it just a hair lower. How about C sharp? Now you're in C sharp Phrygian. Phrygian tonality, C sharp keyality. So keyality doesn't change the music you're hearing. It just physically locates it according to a pitch for a performance. Last but not least, let's clear up some confusion about scales. All a scale is just a stepwise arrangement of the diatonic pitches in a tonality. Here's what I mean. If you take all those pitches from the characteristic harmonies of major tonality, for example, you end up with these tones. I'll use C-sharp keyality for this example, but it could be any keyality. Do, mi, so, do, fa, la, so, fa, re, ti, do, mi, do. Resting tone is do, that's major tonality. If you overlay those keys and use C-sharp, the resting tone, as your tonic, as the first key in the scale, you get a C-sharp major scale. So the scale is just sort of a consolidated version of the sound of the tonality in a particular keyality. Scales don't really say anything about the musical sound. Instead, they're used to develop instrumental technique. When you understand the sounds you want to make, but you want to develop your physical movement vocabulary to gain facility at getting around on your instrument, then practicing scales is good for that. But before you go practicing scales, I just want to reiterate that it works best when you're already audiating the sound of a tonality. So once again, I'd recommend my Genesis course before you start practicing scales, and it's linked in the description. So I hope I've cleared up some misconceptions about modes and keys and scales. If I have, please drop me a like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. And if there's anything else about learning music that you'd like to see answered, please drop that in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in one of my courses I offer on my website, mymusicgenesis.com. See you there, and take care.
Bye.